Well, I see that we have quite many participants that have joined us from the main room already. So welcome to all. My name is Annika LENZ and I work for UN Habitat for the Office for Europe and European Institutions in Brussels. And UN Habitat has the pleasure to provide strategic advice to the European Commission on the implementation of the IOC program. And we are pleased to be co-moderating a couple of sessions at today's event. Our session will last 1 hour and we have interpretation to Japanese. The digital transformation is one of the main changing forces in our time. And we have seen that cities are often very active on this front. There's a lot of potential how technology can improve services and infrastructure. But we've also seen that cities sometimes can be overwhelmed by the governance challenges behind the digitalization. We've seen that sometimes digitalization in cities is driven by the supply of technologies and not so much by the real needs of the cities or the citizens. And furthermore, there are very important questions about data sovereignty. Who owns the data? Who can access the data? How is it shared? How is it protected? Now, with the COVID pandemics, we've seen an acceleration towards a transition towards digitalization. We've also seen that many countries with a digital culture have had a tendency to handle the crisis better than others. The United Nations predicts a massive economic crisis for the next year and an increased social inequality. The UN also sees the risk that the digitalization will further increase these inequalities, but there are also so many opportunities in very diverse areas such as mobility, water management, employment, and so on. So I'm very pleased to have in this session 4 cities who will share their work on smart cities and the green recovery. The first speaker was to be from the city of Penang in Malaysia, but she will be able to join us only a bit later. So I'm very pleased to give the floor now to Mr. Watanabe from the city of Koriyama. Mr. Watanabe, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and your city.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. LENZ, for your kind introduction. My name is Yohei Watanabe, Chief in charge of the IUC program at Koriyama City Government Office in Japan. I am also responsible for the promotion of the collaboration among industry, academia, and government in the field of renewable energy. It is my great pleasure and honor to present our efforts and activities in the course of the IUC program and in this pandemic turmoil caused by the COVID-19. Throughout the course of the IUC program, Essen and Koriyama had put much time and effort into identifying common challenges, learning good practices, and proactively exchanging views and opinions. Let me preface the cooperation between Essen and Koriyama quite briefly. Essen boasts its large scale of clusters in energy and healthcare not only in Germany but Europe, whereas Koriyama aims at boosting these industries as the driving force for the revitalization from the Great East Japan earthquake and the subsequent nuclear accident at Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Power Station in 2011. After the IUC program period was terminated in July 2019, the Lord Mayor of Essen visited Koriyama to conclude an agreement on the continued cooperation, including education and development of future generations as additional cooperation fields. Next slide, please. These are the 4 main challenges that Koriyama has faced, and the cooperation with Essen also started from here. During the 20-month program period, we have delved into these challenges to develop the Urban Cooperation Action Plan and pilot project to address the common challenges. Firstly, regarding aging and shrinking population, I'm guessing that they are not an isolated case of Koriyama, but it is projected that Koriyama's population would decrease by 26% by 2045 in comparison to 2015. Moreover, to put it in perspective, Koriyama's working age population would plunge by 42% and its elderly population would surge by 28% by 2045 as well. With a view to this projected demographic change in 2045, Koriyama is intensifying its efforts in the prolongation of citizens' healthy life expectancy and realizing the sustainable urban development. Next slide, please. In regard to the solutions implemented, Koriyama aims at striking the right balance between protecting the local economy and the public health. As the economic capital and the center of industries of the prefecture, Koriyama plays a significant role in boosting the local economy. In tandem with the national government and the prefectural government, Koriyama has a wide range of financial aid programs to offer for SMEs, including rent, communications equipment needed for teleworks. We also provide high-achieving startups with the subsidy for the expenses of its crowdfunding projects. As one of the overriding issues of the governmental structure, Koriyama is currently grappling with its digital transformation. We are working on implementing AI in checking out the coherency of certification of long-term care need as the very first municipality in Japan. As one of the cooperation projects with Ethen, we are also planning to organize an online business matching event under the theme of innovations in the age of coronavirus. Finally, I would like to touch on some lessons learned from our cooperation with Ethen and the steps being taken against the novel coronavirus thus far. Regarding the stakeholders' involvement, working in conjunction with diverse stakeholders is pivotal for sustainable cooperation. What makes our cooperation sustainable and feasible is that we find a suitable and beneficial project for each stakeholders so that they could find a way to engage with no hitch. We didn't take a one-size-fits-all approach for stakeholders, but we developed different projects for each partner on a case-by-case basis. Last but not least, we'd very much like to thank all the parties concerned on the IUC program. I really appreciate this amazing program, and I've learned a lot from our cooperation with Ethen. This 20-month program was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and the cooperation with Ethen becomes an enormous asset for the city as well. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to thank Professor Imura, who led the IUC Japan team, and our pairing coordinator, Ms. Nakano, who are the light of the two cities in the development process of the Urban Operation Action Plan, and everyone involved at the IUC Coordination Unit and the IUC Japan Secretariat. That's all I have time for today, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Watanabe, for this very interesting presentation. It was great to hear how you cater for different groups of the population, for example, the restaurants who want to start a takeaway, or how you use the technology also to take care of the elderly, because I think the elderly is a group that is often left behind by the digitalization. So it's an important question, how to use this technology for this specific group of the population. Our next speaker is Mrs. Josephine Tang from the city of Penang. I think Josephine has joined us in the meantime. Josephine, the floor is yours, please.
Annika, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants. First of all, before I start my presentations, I would like to thank you, International Urban Corporations, that to having me here, and also European Unions for that. Okay, may I have next slide, please? Okay, just a brief introductions on that. Penang. Penang is one of the city located in Malaysia that we have 1.98 million of our populations, and Penang city has also have the highest recycling rate among in Malaysia, which is for the 2019, we have 44.04%. So just a little bit of demographic and geographical details and demographic on that. Next. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the 5 top challenges that Penang cities has identified after we understand that the pandemic, COVID-19, and then what are we facing? First of all, low digital adoptions that most probably Penang state government is facing. That according to our statistic, in the year of 2019, our SMEs in Penang state, in cooperating for digitalizations in the operations, still remain low at a mere of 37.9%. So after this pandemic, it shows the critical and the needs for us to embark on digitalizations. So how the Penang state government is going to improve in our digital infrastructure and also the accessibility and availability. So to make sure that all of the Penangites, we have the stable connections and all the good bandwidth of that. Secondly, we also identified that our local communities, especially for those senior citizens and elderlies, lack of skills and internal capacities. Because we can design a lot of many applications, but these applications only succeed if it is widely adopted. So we have the challenges in how to build up the basic digital skills for all our senior citizens, for them to adopt the use of all digital tools. Thirdly, data is a king. So we have all the data, but all scattered around. So unorganized waste data is also one of the biggest challenges that our state is facing. So because of weak collaborations and all the data sharings are lacking, how are we going to fill up the gaps between stakeholders for that? So fourthly, because Penang state is an urbanized city. So transportation, we are facing a lot of traffic congestions and all that. How Penang cities is going to solve this problem? Last but not least, we also found out that energy, the use of renewable energies and energy efficiencies is also one of the crucial field that we're going to focus on that, because as our statistic in Malaysia is less than 2% of renewable energy has been adopted for so far. Next, please. So because of time constraint, I will state a little bit of what have we done. For Waste Recycling Center for Penang Green Council, we have developed a Trash to Treasure mobile app and also part under the Zero Waste Network. It is a database which acts as a tool for people to locate the nearest recycling center. So also to locate the buyback center, and these apps also can provide some system on trade-in your pre-loved items. The objective to have these apps is to reduce the carbon footprint and also to convert our waste into useful resources. So this is one of the digital tools that we have established or developed. Next. In terms of smart bus stop, basically this year Penang State has introduced the Penang Intelligent Traffic and Transport System, that we call it as PITT, that all the Penangites can get the instant informations that helps everybody to have more to plan of their travel time, to locate the nearest bus stop, because this is real-time data. So it will provide free Wi-Fi connections and all the charging service. And on top of this smart bus stop, we have some renewable energy installed up there. Is our solar panel board. So this is a lot of using of Internet of Things cooperated in there. So this is for the benefit of our local communities. Next. Yeah, Penang Green Agenda is a way forward for Penang government, Penang State. So we have this Penang Green Agenda is to achieve the overarching in our Penang 2030 visions. So Penang Green Agenda is a framework that sets out the strategies to address our Penang's environmental challenges. So in terms of green economy, waste industry policies is a platform that we wish to establish in future for business matchmaking. So we will identify the industry on what waste that they have generated. So we can matchmaking with another industry that can use the waste as their raw material. So we will establish and develop a system in future for these waste industry policies, and as well as renewable energies and a green economy for that. Next. Yeah. Last but not least is our lesson learned. So these are all the lessons learned by our Penang state government, because since our 2 sessions of stakeholders consultations together with IUC in July and August, we understand that partnership between the strong global and multi-stakeholders cooperation is very important for us to learn what is the green practices or good initiative or any pilot projects that we can adopt it and learn from our European Union's countries. So data is also a very important component for us. It is about using technologies and data as well as purposely to make better decisions and deliver a better quality of life for people. So as a conclude, as a city, to get smarter, we need to become more responsive to the people who call them home. So smart city strategies has to start with people, not only with technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josephine Tan, for this very interesting and varied presentation. And it's very impressive to hear about, for example, how you brought down your waste volume and how you increased the recycling. So we look forward to hearing a bit more about that during the discussion. George from the IOC unit, there seems to be a problem with the slides because we couldn't see Josephine's slides, unfortunately, and I cannot share them from my end. The system doesn't allow me. But maybe we can share them after the event with all participants. So I'd like to introduce the next speaker now from the city of Dubrovnik. We have Mr. Stjepan ČAVAR. I'm sure I mispronounced his name, so please can you introduce yourself and tell us about your city? Mr. ČAVAR, the floor is yours.
Sorry if I might. Can you see the screen now? The slides?
Something is coming, not yet.
Okay.
No, we just see your initials.
Okay, then maybe Stjepan, I can give you the ball and you could share your own slides. I have two computers here and I was able to see it fine, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, yeah, but there were more remarks on the chat that people couldn't see it. Otherwise, if you give me the permission, I can also share the presentation from my end.
Yeah, if you'd like, I can share the presentation, but I see it normally on my screen.
You see it?
Yeah, I did see it.
Okay.
Now it's gone.
I've now given it to Annika to be able to share.
Okay.
So hopefully this will work.
I have a message that said the web app doesn't currently support sharing content and breakout sessions.
Okay, then
I'm sorry. I apologize for the glitch.
Then I'm going to switch computers. I'm going to share for the other one I have open. Hopefully that will work. I just have to. One moment. I'm sorry for this. So can you see it now?
Yes, I can see it now. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to say something because I saw a couple of messages in the chat that people would like to change subplenaries. What I understood from the introductory remarks before was that you can leave the session. There's a red button on the bottom of your screen, and this takes you back in the main room. And I think there you can solicit to go to another session. Okay. So, Mr. ČAVAR, sorry for the hiccup, and please tell us about Dubrovnik and your smart city solutions.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank IOC for opportunity to present smart city projects already implemented in Dubrovnik. My name is Stjepan ČAVAR. I work for Dubrovnik Development Agency, part of the city Dubrovnik, and I am coordinator of a smart city project here in Dubrovnik. So maybe we can go to the next slide. Few words about Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik is a city in southern Croatia, as you see it, a very small city comparing to other cities that we are seeing today. Only 42,000 people, founded in 7th century under UNESCO protection since 1979. And you will see from our smart city solutions that everything is going on mainly around tourism, traffic congestion, and protection of the city. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So Dubrovnik was the first city in Croatia that adopted and wrote a smart city strategy in 2015, and it was adopted by City Council, and we started implementing it in 2015-2016. We detected 4 main problems in the city, and you will see that most of the projects are going on around this. The number 1 is mobility and infrastructure. The big problem with Dubrovnik is very small, big number of tourists is coming during the summer. So population grows 2-3 times number of cars. So you will see that many of our projects are revolving around that. And then quality of life, we try to bring public administration closer to citizens, next economic development and management and institutions. Now I will speak more about projects that we already implemented in the city. I think it will be more interesting to participants. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, one of the first applications that we developed and implemented here in the city was Dubrovnik Eye. The idea was to bring city communal and how to say it, city institutions closer to the citizens. So we launched several applications which are for mobile phones, for web, in which citizens report problems in a city. They make photos, and then it comes to appropriate city departments. They solve problems, and everything is published, everything is open. Data is public and available online. We also have statistics. A couple of thousand problems are already solved through these applications that we installed. Okay, next slide, please. Next big project that we implemented here in Dubrovnik is smart parking solution. We started with a small pilot in 2017. And in 2019, we evolved that in a full-scale project, which is based on NB-IoT technology, in which total of around 2,000 sensors connected to NB-IoT network were installed in Dubrovnik. All parking, public parking spaces are covered with this, so citizens can, when they start going somewhere in a city, they know if there is availability in a city, not only through mobile devices, but on a displays which are placed all around the city. I have to mention that our partner city in the IoC network is Panaji from India, and they use this idea of smart parking solution as example of good practice to improve their traffic and parking infrastructure in their own city. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Another big project that started in 2017 is our people counter. You see it's placed on this little info image. You can see it's placed in our historic city center, which is under big pressure during the tourist season. So we covered it with the people counting cameras. So in every moment we know how many people is within the city walls, and we can monitor their number. It's very, the system is GDPR compliant. We are not recognizing faces or people, only the number is going to a network. I have to mention that now we connected our network through a big European project, Heli Data. We connected it to Snap4City platform developed in Italy, Florence, and we are sharing this data to everybody, to our partners, so they can we can learn from this solution. You have to know that after every season we give statistical data to our city officials, and they use this data to make rational decisions about traffic management, supplying the old town, and so on. Next slide, please. In 2018, we upgraded this people counter with another application. Application is based on AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning system. The algorithm is supplied with 5 different parameters: number of people in Dubrovnik, cruise ships coming, the number of overnights, and so on. And system is predicting number of people on some date you choose in a calendar. It was proven that it was very useful to both citizens, professionals, tourists coming to Dubrovnik, because they can plan their staying in Dubrovnik, because with this they can choose the date when they will come to city center, and they will see if it will be too crowded, and they can plan something else on that day. Thank you. We can go to the next slide. In 2019, we started a big project in Dubrovnik schools, Dubrovnik kindergartens, which proved to be very important in this COVID-19 situation. But it started as something else. We used the NB-IoT network I mentioned before that we use for our parking solution. And we started placing IoT sensors in Dubrovnik school and kindergartens to monitor quality of the air. But it was proven to be a very good project, because in COVID-19, when schools restarted, this data became very valuable to teachers, to parents, to everybody, because through this they can monitor quality of air in their classrooms today in Dubrovnik. Okay, thank you. Next slide. And our last little project that we started and we are finishing now in 2020 is digital. The idea of is digitalizing Dubrovnik playgrounds. The idea is to bring children out to our public and communal playgrounds. Also, we can connect this idea to COVID-19, because it's advisable to be outside more than in their houses. So the idea is to increase physical activity on children in the playgrounds using digital solutions, using their mobile phones. At the same time, we are using this solution because the city is collecting data of usage of playgrounds, different equipment on the playgrounds, so city can plan upgrading playgrounds in a future. So that's it from my side for today. Once again, thank you for this opportunity to present our smart city projects, and I want to thank to the city of Panaji for cooperation in IOC network during the past couple of years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. ྩAVAR, and it's great to hear that some of your solutions are actually being taken up by your partner city in India, by Panaji. And I found it very interesting to hear that Dubrovnik is quite a small city, but it was the first Croatian city to have a smart and digital strategy. And maybe during the discussion, you could also share some of the lessons, because since you started some of the smart mobility solutions already 10 years ago, I'm sure that in the meantime, you've learned a lot how to improve these, and that could also be valuable to other cities. And I think another interesting case is the the challenge to get children outside and to get them to move because they're glued to the screen. But then how do you avoid them being glued to the screen if the playground is connected to the smartphone? So I'm very curious to hear more about that, because that's a big discussion in Europe for the moment among politicians and teachers and parents. So I'm curious about that. But without further ado, I'd like to invite our last speaker from the city of Nice in France. Tell us how they used technology and digital solutions to increase the safety and security in public spaces. We have Mr. Sébastien VIANO. The floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sébastien VIANO. I'm the Director of European Affairs, Euro-Mediterranean Cooperation, and also External Funding in the city of Nice and also the metropolitan area of Nice. I'm happy to be invited today. Thanks for the invitation. Nice was a member of the IUC program for pairings with Chinese cities, and today I'm going to speak about our smart city approaches and more specifically about the topic of security. So Nice is a renowned smart city, and it is also committed to ensuring a smart, green, but also a safe future for all the citizens. As you may know, my city, Nice, has been the victim of terrorism twice, actually, on the Promenade des Anglais in 2016, and some weeks ago in a church on the 29th of October. We do believe that digital transformation can contribute to the protection of public spaces and citizens, but also to improve victim support. So security is, of course, an urban challenge at the international level. On this first slide, I wanted to recall that it's a complex but also an essential subject. Security is, of course, a shared responsibility, and we believe that cities have a crucial role to play in this area. It's also a basic right for citizens that has to be protected, and it's something that is recognized actually at the international level, and the Sustainable Development Goals have quoted two of them, number 11 and number 16. And it's very important that you see security as an integrated part of how to ensure a better future for people. Next slide, please. So how do we use smart solutions and technologies in the field of security in Nice? Nice is really a promoter of this kind of initiatives and solution at French level, but also at the European level. All the technologies that we are actually experiencing and implementing on the spot are also raising many issues, as you may know, legal issues, ethical issues, and also social issues, I mean social acceptance of the population. Even though it's a controversial topic still in the media, we believe that it's very important to actually go on implementing technologies to better protect the population. So here in this slide, you have a picture of my mayor, Christian Estrosi, who is known for pushing this topic very high on the political agenda. You have a picture with the screens of our Urban Supervision Control Center, which is one of the largest video protection complexes in Europe. In Nice, we are actually working with many industrials, big companies, but also startups from Europe and also elsewhere, from abroad and third countries. And we are actually deploying many CCTV cameras with new softwares, and we are actually using them on the spot, on the ground, to detect potential threats and also protect the population. Our public transport network is fully equipped with this kind of technologies, and everything is actually interconnected with our supervision center. Next slide, please. So we have different technologies. I will not actually describe all of them. I would just concentrate on some specific examples. Some technologies are very simple, but they prove very useful. For instance, you see in this picture the alert button that we have deployed everywhere in the city, industries, but also in municipal buildings, in schools, in daycare centers, theaters, even places, but also in shops. business and professionals actually have requested this kind of equipment. This equipment is actually connected to the supervision center, and when a problem occurs, the alert is actually directly sent to the supervision center and also to the policeman. So this proved very useful. For instance, on the 29th of October, when the last terror attack in Nice occurred, because actually our first responders were able to arrive very, very quickly on the spot and prevent other crimes to happen. Next slide, please. Nice is also known now for having experimenting a facial recognition technology. It was just an experiment that was during our international carnival. That was actually something that the mayor wanted to test in real conditions, of course, with the consent of all the people who agreed to be actually testers in this experiment. We produced a report because you know that facial recognition technology is not really allowed today in terms of deployment. So we had actually to send a report to our data protection authorities, our national authority. Maybe I will come back to this during the discussion. It's very important to note that the results were actually very satisfactory. So now our mayor is actually pushing at the French level, but also at the national and international level to use more of this kind of technologies to prevent crimes and also to help solve, for instance, where there are some investigation after a crime has been committed. Next slide, please. So what are the lessons learned? We can say today in Nice that technology helps speed up the responses on the spot. I told you that, for instance, with the example of the last terror attack, it also helps for investigation after a crime has been committed. So the main benefits we have noticed in Nice is actually a decrease in street delinquency, also an increase in the clearance rate of crimes. We have also had an action on pickpockets. We also noticed a need for changing our own organization. As I told you, security is a complex issue, so we need to actually improve the skills of the people that are actually handling the new technologies. For instance, our video protection operators, and also have a real vision of all the skills that are needed for all the actors in the security chain, because not everything is done by the city itself, but also it's a collective work also with private actors. So it's very important to have all those ideas in our mind when we try to create a continuum in the security. We also have a data protection officer in-house who is actually very, very good in applying all the rules and preventing legal problems. So it's actually a new kind of job for cities today. Next slide, please. So what are the drawbacks? Implementing technologies in the field of security is very complex. It's also an ever-changing environment because innovation is booming in this sector. So as I told before, it's very important to invest time on the training issues and the skills issues. Also for the public procurement issues, it's very important to have all the rules in mind. It's also a legal question. Legislation is very strict when it comes to implementing security-related technologies, and we can really wonder if this legal framework at national, legal, or international levels are really adapted to the evolving threats, and for instance, terrorism. Next slide, please. I will say some words now about the Urban Agenda Partnership on Security in Public Spaces. It's an European initiative. The City of Nice is leading this partnership with the Urban Forum for Urban Security and also the City of Madrid. It's a collective approach to security. We are now at the stage of our action plan. I'll put the link on this presentation so that you can go and have a look at it and see all the work we have already done. And if you need to interact with me, please feel free to send me a message. And this kind of political initiative, we're trying actually to push for an integrated approach of security, not only speaking about technologies and repression, but also speaking about prevention and also social cohesion, and also the question of perception of security at local level. And we are working on transversal issues, how to improve better knowledge, better regulation, and better funding when it comes to security. We have a dedicated action on technologies, and we are trying to have an overall vision of how cities are implementing security technologies on the spot and the problems they are facing. Next slide, please. Here you just have an overview of the type of work we are doing collectively with all the cities, regions, and also member states involved in this urban agenda partnership. We are actually going to publish a questionnaire to cities to have a better view about the security technologies we are implementing and experimenting. So I hope all the IUC cities will reply to this questionnaire. It will give us a lot of input, and that will be very precious. We are also going to actually work on a study on the legal aspects and the legal bottlenecks. And next slide and last slide. My last slide is about a big international conference we're going to organize next year. It was supposed to be organized this year, but because of the health crisis, we had to postpone it. So next year in October in Nice, we're going to organize a big international conference. 1,000 participants are expected. It's going to be called Security Democracy in Cities. So we're going to discuss security with all the other social aspects and all the other points of view. So you're very welcome to attend this meeting, and I hope IUC program will be partner also of this international conference. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. VIANO, for this very interesting and very concrete presentation of how you apply digital solutions for one specific challenge, which is the security in public spaces. And I'm curious to hear during the discussion also how the consultation with the civil society went, because you said that it was controversial, and I think that it's an important theme in general for the digital solutions, because there are always advantages and drawbacks, and I think it's important that there's an open debate at the local level about all of these. I have one short question for each presenter, and the public is also invited to type a question or their name in the chat box, and then I can give you the floor to ask a question also directly to the speaker. So I have a first question to the presenter from the city of Koriyama, Mr. Watanabe. You presented so many digital solutions in your city, and you seem so advanced in using the technology to improve the city. And could you share with us what do you see as the main challenge for the future regarding these digital solutions and your city?
Yes, thank you for your good question. And yeah, actually, our efforts against the digital solution is just began, and it's quite underway. So actually, it is widely reported that we face a challenge of the lag in the digital transformation in Japan. So now we are working on the collaborate around, such as universities or companies or any other stakeholders, and to collaborate with them to achieve digital transformation. Yeah. So yeah, that's our. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There's a need to involve further stakeholders and to open the debate to universities and the industry also. I have a question for Josephine Tan from the city of Penang. Unfortunately, many of us couldn't see your slides, but I had a preview of them last week, and I was so impressed by what you said about the waste management and the recycling rate. So it seems that your recycling rate has increased drastically and the waste has been reduced. Can you tell us a few sentences how this was achieved and what you would recommend other cities who have similar challenges?
Thank you, Annika. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I would like to say that because Penang state government has a lot of strong, good policies that has been introduced by the state government and our policymakers. So back to 10 years before that, when I can still recap, Penang is the first state that introduced for Penang no free plastic bags policy. So this is one of the biggest challenges that we faced at that time. That because in the whole Malaysia, our country, Penang is the first state that announced for no free plastic bags. So it means that on that time when our public, if they request to use to buy, they are requested to buy. For each plastic bag, we are charging 20 cents. And then starting from Penang State is also one of the first state that banned for polystyrene. It's totally banned. So now in Penang, you won't get any polystyrene available in our markets or our shopping centers and all that, or our hawkers. So Penang State has become a lead in green initiative and all the green practices. So because of the good policies and a lot of awareness and educationers that what Penang Green Council is come into picture. So that's why the collaboration and engagement with the local communities is also one of the very crucial point that we go there and have educate them, have trainings, have workshop. And in year 2016, Penang is also introducing for waste segregation at source policies. So it is supported by a bylaw. So it means that now every single household in Penang, they have to segregate their waste accordingly. If not, there will be enforcement coming in. So there are a lot of Penang State government initiative in leading us to have a highest recycling rate among all the states in Malaysia. So coming into, I would say that we have a strong political view. Our leaders, lead us for that. And then, of course, we have the good cooperations and the support from the local community and also from the business operators. Because Penang State government is using the bottoms-up engagement that we will engage all stakeholders and leaving no one behind. So that's why this is one of the crucial points that we can lead Penang State until today.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Tan, for this clarification. So it's a strong political leadership and strong action to fight plastic and the community engagement. I think this is a good mix to bring real solutions. Thank you. I have a city for Mr. ČAVAR from Dubrovnik. So you seem to be one of the front runners on the digital solutions in Croatia, and you're proposing a lot of solutions to your citizens. And can you tell us a bit what has been the feedback from the citizens? Do they like it? Do you feel that some are left behind? Is there a controversy? What do they want for the future?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. First of all, we started very early, 2015, and the reason is mayor and city council were very open to these new solutions. The other side of the story are citizens. You know that you have to promote these ideas very strongly for them to accept this. So I have to tell that we had a big success with this application, which is now on this slide, Dubrovnik. We really saw participation of citizens and their reporting problems. I have to mention that I didn't mention that in the slides. We also used another approach 1 year or 2 years ago. We used all our mobile applications that we developed for citizens and to send them notifications. Like communal notifications. So if you install the application for parking, for smart parking, application for or Dubrovnik or something like that, we use that as a channel for communication with citizens. So inform them about communal problems in their street. For example, there will be no electricity in following day or so on. So from our side, we are strongly trying to involve them. But sometimes it's pretty hard, you know. Some of our applications are also oriented to tourists that are coming to Dubrovnik. We are trying to inform them about problems in a city center, if it's too crowded to go somewhere else. So we are using different solutions. For example, we installed a big Wi-Fi network within all city of Dubrovnik, thanks to 3 European projects. It's free, and we are using a landing page of this Wi-Fi to inform them about crowdedness and so on. So we are using different channels to engage communication with citizens, with our visitors, and so on. So in some solutions, it's working more, in some less. So you know how it goes. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. ྩΑVΑR, for this for the clarification. So there's free Wi-Fi in Dubrovnik. I think many of us hope visiting once the pandemic is over.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. I have a question for our last presenter, for Mr. VIANO from the city of Nice. You presented how you apply digital technology to increase the security in public space, and we've already touched upon that it's always a controversial subject, and that the data protection is also key. Can you tell us a bit how this debate went in Nice, and maybe also something about the costs, because we haven't heard a lot about the costs of digital solutions, but I think it's also important to take all these aspects into consideration when deciding to go for a specific solution. Mr. VIANO.
Okay, Annika. Yes, to come back to your question regarding society and general acceptance in Nice, of course, the population in Nice has a specific relation to the topic of security because of the terrorist attack. As I said before, we have part of the population that is still very traumatized about what happened, you know. So that's why the population is maybe more willing, you know, to accept some technologies than other cities, maybe elsewhere. But when we had a look at this kind of topic of acceptance across Europe in the framework of the Urban Agenda Partnership on Security in Public Spaces, we noticed that, of course, there are different visions, different cultures when it comes to security in different member states, you know. You cannot compare the way that Spanish or German are seeing this kind of topic and the way they see the question of surveillance in general, you know, because of their history, because of bad times sometimes of history. So it's very important to have everything in mind. But that brings us to the necessity, you know, to explain things and also to frame things. So that means to have a real dialogue with citizens, to explain what kind of technologies we are actually implementing and why. Speaking also about the cost, as you said, so everything is public. When we adapt a budget, people can see the type of expenses we have for security purposes, for instance, but also to frame this, you know, that means to respect the legislation. Also, as I told you, to train people that are actually going to handle this kind of sensitive data. So that's very, very important. And we also want to promote the co-production of security, so that for instance, citizens are really involved in their own security. It's everyone's business, you know. So we have actually created new apps, new applications where citizens can send some information. They can have access also to some information. So some of these apps have been blocked by our data protection authority because they think that it's actually infringing some rules when it comes to data protection. We had an application that we tested which was called Reportees. That means for someone that was in the streets and being attacked or witnessing an attack to be able to film it and to send this kind of message and images to our Urban Supervision Center. But actually the experiment has been blocked because when we were filming like an attack in the street, we were also filming people, you know, passing by. And that has been blocked, you know, because both people did not give their consent to appear in this kind of film. So, you know, it's a very complex issue. People are actually willing to use more kind of application like this, you know. I heard also about application in London, for instance, for women who are crossing some neighborhoods in the night, and to be able to know what kind of streets are less secure than others, you know. So to be actually advised in a way to pass through like more safe streets than others, you know. So of course it brings a lot of debates, but it's true that there is a demand on citizen side, but it's very important to establish this kind of dialogue, to try to frame it, as I said, and to accept the debate, not to be biased. And for instance, for our Urban Agenda Partnership, we open a public debate, you know, on this. So we received comments from citizens, and I can tell you that we did not really receive like negative things on this aspect. People, of course, want to to be associated to the debate. They are not like black or white, you know.
Thank you very much for these further clarifications and also the information that the cost is open data and that it can be viewed by the citizens. And this brings us to a question from the audience we have from Professor Imura. Professor Imura, would you like to ask the question yourself? Can you unmute yourself? I see that we have only 5 minutes left, but I think we have time for one question and one answer.
Question. There was not so much discussion about the cost for city, you know, for digitalization to promote the digital solution. Do you have any estimates for the money necessary? Yes, maybe addressed to, for example, to needs for space security. How much money do you need?
Maybe I can reply if you want, Annika, on this.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sometimes for technologies, we are actually not paying because we are actually building like kind of partnerships with industrials. So we are actually testing. So we are not paying for it. We are like an open lab, you know, a territorial open lab for some industrials. So we are not paying for it when it's an experiment. When we are able by the legislation to deploy, it's true that we purchase, but we purchase with public procurement. So that means that we put in competition different offers. I was speaking about the concrete examples before, the question of the alert buttons that we are deploying. So after the terror attack, we have decided to reinforce this kind of equipment in the public spaces. So now we are purchasing for 1 million euros of new alert button in the city, but we are going to be co-financed by the French state. So we are looking always for grants also. We also have projects ongoing that are co-financed by the European Union. For instance, under the Internal Security Fund, we have a project called Pacte Sûr, which is actually working on the question of cooperation between municipal police, training, but also new digital devices. So we are always looking for external monies to finance our investment on the ground.
Thank you very much. I just saw a very evil message that this session will close in 110 seconds because we will all meet again in the main room for the closing remarks of Mr. Hall from the European Commission. So in closing, I would like to thank all the participants and especially all the speakers for sharing their city experience in such a frank and concrete way. I learned a lot during this session, and I would like to conclude with something that Josephine said when closing her presentation, that smart cities it's about the people, not only about technology. So with that, I wish you a very good day or a very good evening for participants from Asia, and I'm looking forward to the closing remarks of Mr. Hall. Thank you and goodbye.